Hey guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. If you want a high score in TOEFL listening, you must take good notes. And this can be particularly difficult in conversations because there are two speakers and there is a lot of information. In this video, I'm going to show you how you should take notes for conversations and what you should write down. By the way, if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started. Let's first start with the how. How should you take notes for conversations? If you're listening to a conversation, what you're first going to do is you draw a table. On the one side, you write down everything the first person says. And on the other side, you write down everything the second person says. Usually, the conversation will be between a student and a professor or an official. Why should you use a table in conversations? Think about it. You are listening to a conversation between two persons. So this means the first person will say something, and then it's the second person's turn. And then the first person will talk again, and it goes on like this. If you don't use a table for conversations, you will need to write down who says what. Because if you don't do that, you won't know who said what when you are answering the questions. The problem is that it's very time consuming if you always have to write down the name of the person that is talking. So a table makes your life a lot easier. The second reason why it's a good idea to use a table is that it makes it a lot easier for you to structure the information. Always remember that when you are answering the question, you are under time pressure. You don't have the time to search for the information in your notes. You need to find the information that you need in order to answer the questions correctly very quickly. Now you know how you need to take notes for conversations. But what do you need to write down? Let's start with the first point. Desires. The student usually goes to see the professor or an official for a reason. He has a desire, a wish, he wants something, and usually you will be asked a question about that. So it's a good idea to listen for that and to write this down. For example, if you listen to a conversation between a student and a professor, the student may go to see the professor because he wants to extend the deadline of his assignment. You know, normal student stuff. We all know that. Let's get to the second important thing that you need to write down. Reactions. If you listen to a conversation in TOEFL listening, the person to whom the student is talking usually reacts in a particular way. Let's go back to our example. The student wants to extend the deadline of his assignment. In TOEFL listening, it's very likely that the professor will not simply say, yes, of course you can extend the deadline of your assignment. Rather, the professor will react in a different way. For example, imagine this. The student's deadline is on Monday, and he asks the professor whether he can hand in the assignment on Friday because he's volunteering in a project and this consumes a lot of time, and that's why he can't finish his assignment until Monday. The professor is not happy about that. He asks the student, is it possible that you are doing more than you can handle? Things like that happen very often in TOEFL listening. What the professor is doing is, he suggests that the student is doing too much, that he cannot cope with his current workload. If a person remarks something or suggests something, it's very likely that you will be asked a question about this later. And that's why it's really important that you write this down. Let's go on with the third thing that you need to focus on. Problems. Sometimes the speakers can't find a solution immediately because there is a problem. Let's imagine this. The deadline of the student's assignment is on Friday, and he wants to extend the deadline to Monday so that he can work on his assignment over the weekend. However, the professor says, "Oh, I wanted to correct your assignment over the weekend so that I can give it back to you on Monday." So obviously we have a problem here. There are conflicting interests, and the two speakers need to figure out how they can solve this issue. When you listen to a conversation in TOEFL Listening, things like that happen all the time. Usually there are complications and the speakers need to find a way how to solve them. And it's really important that you write this down, because it's very likely that you will get a question later that asks you about this problem. So, for example, the question may ask you what the problem was. So you should definitely take notes of that. Let's get to point number 4. You should write down conclusions. Usually the speakers reach a conclusion in the end. For example, this can be a solution to a problem. Here you need to pay attention. It's highly likely that the speakers won't mention the words conclusion, solution, or decision in order to indicate that this is the conclusion of their conversation. They don't say things like, "Okay, let's reach a conclusion," or "let's make a decision." And this means that you need to listen very closely and figure out what their solution or conclusion is. Let's go back to our example. The student's assignment is due on Friday, but he would like to hand it in on Monday. However, the professor is not happy about that because he wants to correct the assignment over the weekend and give it back to the student on Monday. A possible solution to this problem may be that they both agree that the student is going to hand in his assignment on Sunday morning, for example. This way, the student can still work on his assignment on Saturday, and the professor can correct the assignment on Sunday in the afternoon and give it back to the student on Monday. It's really important that you write down this conclusion, because it's likely that you will get a question about that. And here you need to be very careful, because the examiner wants to check whether you understood that there was a complication and that the two speakers reached a conclusion in the end. So it's quite likely that you will get a question asking you what the problem was and how the speakers solved this problem. So for example, there may be a question asking you, when is the student going to hand in his assignment? And then you have several options. For example, on Friday, on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. And here the examiner wants to check whether you understood that originally the student had to hand in his assignment on Friday, but he's not going to hand in his assignment on Friday. And then he wanted to hand in his assignment on Monday, but he's not allowed to do that. No, the professor and the student agreed that the student will hand in his assignment on Sunday. If you want to know more about the question types that you have to solve in TOEFL Listening and which strategies you can use in order to solve them correctly, have a look at my videos about that. You can find the links to these videos in the description below. That's it. This is how you take notes for conversations in TOEFL listening. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If it was, please hit the like button so that I know. And if you have any questions or a video wish, tell me about that in the comments below. And if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. I'd love to see you here next time. Bye bye!